Surely you don't have any problem using your mobile phone and spending 2 hours navigating social media, watching absurd TikTok videos, playing video games, or watching that Netflix series you like so much. But what about doing a little sport, starting to study, or working on your business? Reading, for example, is one of those tasks that is definitely much easier to perform than certain others, and it is precisely those difficult tasks that will bring you the biggest long-term benefits. It's a bit like healthy food that costs more to eat, but provides the most benefits for your health. Sometimes you can also get frustrated because even knowing that these tasks are the most beneficial and will help you reach your goals, you end up not doing them. On the other hand, there are those people who have the discipline and willpower to do those difficult tasks constantly. For example, an athlete prefers to invest their hours training and perfecting their skills rather than sitting on the couch looking at stories on Instagram. The entrepreneur you see with luxury cars, living the life you dream of, sacrifices their time for relationships or partying with friends to stay home working on the business that has led to their success today. Well, I've got some good news for you. In this same video, I'll give you the key to working with the intensity and ease that these successful people do. What truly makes a successful person is their ability to sacrifice a short-term, instant, but small reward for a long-term reward that will require effort but be much greater. This is not a coincidence at all. This has been scientifically proven. A psychologist from Stanford University conducted an experiment on delaying gratification. Psychologists offered children two possibilities. They could have one jelly bean immediately or wait 15 minutes and get two later. They left the kids alone in the classroom and analyzed their behavior, then followed those subjects who were part of the experiment for 40 years. They found that those who managed to wait 15 minutes to get two marshmallows were much more successful in all areas of life. You also have those two options daily. You can choose between instant or short-term gratification that won't require effort or long-term gratification that will require effort but be much greater. You might logically say, okay, but that person had to sacrifice small rewards during that period. Were they unhappy then? You might think success is incompatible with happiness, but this is where the magic lies. I will prove the opposite. People who manage to stop doing those unproductive activities that offer immediate pleasure end up experiencing the same pleasure by doing difficult tasks that involve effort and offer a great long-term reward. You may wonder, how? It's all about harnessing what I call our natural drug. Today's video is divided into two parts. First, I want to explain how dopamine works and its fundamental role in our system. Don't underestimate dopamine. It is likely responsible for your lack of productivity, inability to work, and failure to achieve what you want in life. Second, I want to share my experience over the last 7 days when I underwent a radical dopamine detox. During this period, I eliminated all activities from my routine that provided instant gratification and replaced them with difficult or effortful tasks. If you want to know why I did this and the surprising results I experienced, stay until the end of the video because it could be very beneficial for you. I believe this video will radically change 3 things for you: your way of working, the pleasure you can experience from labor, and your future. Yes, your future. Because if we understand our natural dependence on dopamine and learn to manipulate it to our advantage, you will succeed much more easily than anyone else in your generation. You will also enjoy the journey of effort and hard work required for success much more intensely. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter secreted by our brain every time we anticipate the reward of an activity. We secrete more dopamine than normal when we engage in activities that make us feel good. Our brain learns that these activities are the right ones to pursue. For example, dopamine levels will increase when we think about eating junk food because the anticipation of the reward is greater than when we think about eating vegetables. This cycle of desire, action, and reward establishes our habits. Activities such as using drugs, watching pornography, browsing social media, engaging in sex, or eating certain types of food generate large amounts of dopamine in a very short time. This causes many people to become addicted to the immediate gratification these activities provide. Dopamine is what establishes our preference for certain activities over others. Our brain doesn't evaluate whether an activity will be more beneficial in the long term. It simply identifies those activities that generate the most dopamine. This can seem negative, and indeed it can be. However, very few people know that we can manipulate this natural process to our advantage, which is where my experiment comes in. By restricting activities that provided immediate dopamine hits and replacing them with more effortful tasks, I aim to rewire my brain's reward system. Over the past 7 days, I eliminated activities like watching TV, using social media, and eating junk food. Instead, I focused on tasks that required effort, such as exercising, reading, and working on projects. The results were astonishing. Through this experiment, I found that my ability to concentrate improved, my productivity increased, and I experienced a greater sense of satisfaction from completing difficult tasks. This is because I trained my brain to associate effortful activities with a dopamine release, which made these activities more rewarding. Understanding how to manipulate your brain's dopamine system can help you achieve success with greater ease and enjoy the process more. By delaying gratification and focusing on long-term rewards, you can train your brain to derive pleasure from productive activities, leading to greater overall success and happiness. The coronavirus crisis has affected us all in many aspects of our lives. One of the negative impacts I've noticed during confinement is that my dopamine settings have been affected. Being cooped up at home so close to the kitchen has made me unconsciously seek immediate rewards from food. The simple act of taking 10 steps to the kitchen to eat a snack has become a primary source of gratification rather than my work itself. This cycle of satisfying my body's immediate needs has often interrupted my work, as I made frequent, unnecessary trips to the kitchen. My motivation to work also decreased because I didn't have to go out and prepare meals as I usually do on Sundays. When I got hungry, I just cooked whatever I liked, which led to a loss of variety in my diet. Although I generally eat healthily, my diet has become less varied during these last few months. Last Sunday, I decided to conduct an experiment to radically reset my dopamine settings. The goal was to identify activities that provided an immediate dopamine hit and completely eliminate them from my daily routine. I made a list of such activities and the results were enlightening. One of my hobbies is trying a different coffee every week. I don't use sugar, preferring sweeteners, but it's still not the healthiest habit. My coffee and chocolate ritual is my favorite part of the day, and during this quarantine, I couldn't resist increasing the frequency of this ritual. To counter this, I kept my phone off during the day, although I still called my family at night. I completely avoided social networks, which are designed to release dopamine and generate addiction. Another significant change was addressing the issue of masturbation. If we're honest, both men and women have likely experienced increased urges during this period. Although I don't consume pornography due to its philosophy and the values it conveys, I still recognize that masturbation is a natural and potentially healthy act. However, since it releases a lot of dopamine, I decided to eliminate it from my days. I replaced it with listening to podcasts during workouts and taking cold showers. Additionally, breakfast is my favorite meal of the day, and I love starting my day with a good breakfast. To challenge myself further, I decided to adopt a 16-hour fasting routine. This helped me reset my routine and focus on more productive activities. Through these changes, I've managed to rewire my dopamine settings and significantly improve my productivity and overall well-being. It consists of stopping eating at 8 p.m. and starting again at 12 p.m. the next day, effectively skipping breakfast, which I considered an important source of dopamine. You might think this list of changes is quite small and that these activities themselves aren't significant. I agree to some extent. I've led a very fast-paced, healthy lifestyle for the past few years. However, if you believe that certain activities in your life are more toxic, like smoking, I recommend making a longer list and eliminating those activities progressively rather than all at once. This gradual approach is crucial because the psychological impact of sudden changes can be much harder to handle. The fascinating part of this experiment, and where the magic lies, is that when you eliminate activities that cause your brain to secrete dopamine, your brain doesn't stop producing dopamine. Instead, it reconfigures and redirects that dopamine to other activities. For example, your brain will start to release dopamine in response to reading or working, as these will be the primary activities left that can trigger dopamine release. Eventually, you'll even find yourself wanting to exercise, as it will become one of the few ways to get your daily dose of dopamine. I have to confess that the first day was harder than I expected. I woke up a little later than usual, probably because I lacked the motivation to get up for my usual good breakfast. Knowing I had 5 hours left until I could eat made the day feel long and boring. If I'm honest, it was a strange feeling, as if nothing gave me any pleasure or satisfaction. On the bright side, I was very productive because I had nothing else to do but work. The first positive effect I noticed was my strong desire to do my sports session by the end of the day. Of course, I faced a lot of temptations, but sticking to the plan showed me that redirecting my dopamine response could lead to improved productivity and healthier habits. Luckily, I managed to resist. From the second day onwards, it became much easier for me to adapt. Admittedly, I'm pleasantly surprised by the results. Not only did I achieve what I expected, but I also experienced additional benefits that I hadn't planned for. My productivity levels have skyrocketed in a way I rarely experienced before. Without distractions, I filled my empty time with more work. Typically, I read a book a week, but by replacing the 15-minute breaks I used to spend on my mobile phone with 15 minutes of reading, I managed to read 2 books in a week. Without distractions, my work sessions were of much higher quality. I could enter a state of flow more easily, where I lost awareness of my surroundings and focused solely on my tasks. This brought a sense of mental clarity and lightness, likely due to drastically reducing my mobile interactions. Moreover, I invested all my time in tasks that are truly important, leading to a giant sense of personal fulfillment. This, combined with increased time, generated ideas more frequently and of much higher quality. My creativity skyrocketed exponentially. Frankly, I highly recommend this experiment. Not only did I break bad work habits I'd picked up during confinement, but I also experienced mental clarity, a sense of lightness, better mental health, and a renewed passion and motivation for work. These feelings were much more intense than I had anticipated. I've decided to integrate many of these habits into my routine permanently. However, I must admit that I'm tired of not listening to music during my workouts, fed up with drinking green tea, and I miss having a good breakfast with a nice coffee. See you in the next video.